Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Done a few videos on timing belts lately with varying amounts of detail. Obviously, we like to keep them short sometimes because people don't want to hang around too long. They're limited on time, but there's also people that want to sit there for longer and get more detail. So you pick whichever one suits you. We've got a few of them on YouTube with timing belt mark detail and stuff like that in the VIP group. After you're a client, if you've purchased the timing belt kit or whatever, you'll get to see the longer versions. Now it is wise to do the water pump and the whole sort of front engine job I should say, while doing the timing belt. But look, you don't have to do it that way. If you're on a budget or you're doing it yourself and you just want to do the timing belt, it is straightforward and pretty simple to do it that way. So I'm going to try and show you how to do it. This is a Hilux. All I've done so far is remove the timing cover, which is 6 10mm bolts. I think I unplugged the coolant temperature sensor to get that out of the way. That's this one that comes down here. Okay, so that's just up there out of the way. Actually, down the bottom, the other sensor at the supply pump, there's a plug and bracket near there. I've just unplugged that and moved that out of the way, so no big deal. You can't see that in the picture. I'm going to hopefully leave that sitting there if I don't bump it and just show you the general procedure of changing the timing belt only. I may have to cut it about halfway through when I go clean it up, because that's what I do. I give the whole area a wash down, blow dry, let it dry, and then put it back together. So it's a little bit more time consuming than just slapping it off and on and resetting the tensioner. We're going to use a new tensioner and a new idler most likely. We're going to check those. But look, I think we're just going to use new ones anyway from now on. We used to have it as an option. I don't think I like the option of risking the bearing or the tensioner to save $100 or something each item, ballpark, a little bit over, but a couple $100 to risk an engine over 150,000 Ks. It's a no-brainer. I've said that in other videos. So we're putting a new idler and a tensioner. Let's get on with the job. Okay, so we've set up the timing belt on the marks. The mark at the top here, you've got the arrow there and the arrow on the front of the timing pulley, camshaft pulley, whatever. I'm going to use all wrong names for things anyway because I'm just blah 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 blah. Right, so there's your arrow, there's your mark. Simple stuff, you know what I mean. And we've done timing belts on lots of different cars. That people that have you believe these ones are harder. These are probably one of the easiest ones you can do, but the same rule applies. If you get it wrong, it's going to be your engine. Okay, so make sure that mark's lined up, and the mark down the bottom on the right hand side of the gear on the supply pump, make sure that's right before you do anything. Next thing you need is probably a quarter drive with a 10mm to remove the tensioner. Okay, so just remember, if you're going to do this, if you get it wrong, it is your engine. So look, this is a Hilux. They're a bit easier to get into. I did a longer video on a Prado 150 the other day, and it is quite difficult to get in. The engine's a little bit further forward, closer to the fan. You've got the intercooler piping, and the heater hoses and that are a little bit different as well. So it's not always going to be. Look, I might make it. Hopefully, I'm making it look hard for you, but I think I'll probably make it look easy because I've done a few, and people have told me, yeah, you do make it look easy, and then they go to do it and it's not so easy. So be aware of that. It's not about me, it's just whatever. I'm just letting you know. It's not like I want to be in the spotlight or anything, otherwise I'd be turning the camera around. That's the last thing I want to do. Just trying to help you and show you how to do the work, and not trying to make it look like it's bigger than it is. It's just what it is. Some of the job, the injector job, it is a big job, it's simple as that. It's a big job to do it right. It takes time. It is a big job. Look, the big front end job, the big front engine job I should call it. It's not the front end suspension, right? So the big front engine job. So just so you know, we remove the top bolt out of the tension, and we crack them both loose first. We remove the top bolt first this time. We do it either way. It does seem to work better if you take out the top bolt first and then the bottom one. Okay, so we're just getting that second bolt out now. That'll come up with the tensioner. It's about to come up. I'll show you that. Right, so there's the tensioner. Right, and the top bolt was there. So bottom bolt, top bolt. Right, so if you're going to reuse it, if you're on a budget, you do need to carefully put it in a press. Don't always face this upwards, not down. That is important. And you need to very slowly reset that. Press it back in slowly, and then you can put your pin back in there. People use like an Allen key, a small Allen key. I've got a lot of pins from using new tensioners, so if I want to reuse one or something, then that's how I do it. Now once you've done that, you can slip the belt off from the top. It's going to be tight on this side. That's the other thing I suppose I didn't really mention. I prefer turning the engine clockwise to line it up, and even if you decide to go the other way, make sure you finish going clockwise to make sure you've got this side of the belt reasonably tight. Okay, and the belt's just going to come off, simple as that. Right, there it is. We'll sit it up here for now. Then you need a 10mm excuse me. Okay, so a 10mm single hex. And get in there and undo this bolt that retains the idler. Right, which I've said in other videos, oh, that was a bit tight. Well, you know, it would have been 35 Newton meters, of course, but things feel tight. It's important to use manufacturer's torque specs if you're not experienced with this. We do a lot of stuff by hand, and definitely having, I suppose, a bit of information, you know, when you've done a trade and you've learnt the basics there, and then put it to practice over your life, because once you've got that trade, even if you're not, you know, you're forever, you know, doing stuff. Okay, so that's basically everything off in 6 minutes. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'll just show you what we're looking at. So there's the gear, there's the marks we spoke about. I haven't marked, I normally mark it with a blue pen, but it just washes off anyway, even the paint pen, because we give it a good clean up. This one's a little bit dusty, not too bad, it's not an off-roader. But we're going to go and give it a good clean up. And some people just use compressed air. That might do. I prefer to have it nice and clean. So we're going to go and clean it up, and then we'll come back to you with putting it all back together. Here's the parts we're going to be replacing. Of course, only all genuine Toyota parts. You've got a quality Toyota made in Japan, quality engineered and quality parts. Keep it that way. Like they say, keep the feeling. I'm with Toyota on most things, not everything. Anyway, first thing you do once you open up your timing belt is get your pen and fill out the date and kilometres for your sticker, because the ink needs to dry. And then we're going to refit the tensioner, the idler, and drive belt, the timing belt, not driver belt. And so we've cleaned everything up, so let's go and refit these parts. Alright, so let's get this back together. Look, I'll just show you, we gave it a bit of a clean up, you know, it's all nice and clean. I don't know if you can see the difference, there's the light, whatever. Look, we prefer not to blow things, it just makes dust in the air, you breathe that, it's not good, like brakes and that. You don't blow brake dust, you know, you wash it and then blow it dry. Now don't worry about the mess that's outside of the timing cover area. If you see any, we'll clean that up afterwards. The idea is that it's clean on the inside of the cover. Alright, so we'll leave that light there. Come back, see if I can get you in position back here again so that you can see what's going on. A little bit. And we're just going to quickly run through the steps. Now, I'm going to do this quickly as I can, don't get me wrong, but we've skipped the taking off the cover and a few other bits and pieces and plugs. It's all time consuming, the cleaning, whatever, the cleaning and drying. So we've got the, as I pointed out, we filled out the sticker. We've got the timing cover clean. We've put the sticker on the cover. We've put some Molly Coat. You know the Molly Coat, you know, it's called Molly Coat 111, probably because there's 111 uses. That's why we include that with our injector kit as an optional extra, because it is hard to buy in the shops. That's the only reason we do it, just to help you guys out. And we put that on the seal. You might just help it by keeping it a bit nice and soft and lubed up, a bit like putting some Vaseline on your lips. Well, that's what I don't do that, but probably should. That's what the doctors say to do. Oh, dry this, dry that, you know. So the cover's ready to go back on. We'll just put that aside. Just wanted to show you that, and we may lose you before the end of the video. Depends whether you want to see that, or we might end it without putting the cover on. We've got other videos with the cover going on, so we better get on with it. First thing we're going to do, we're going to grab the tensioner, the genuine NTN tensioner. I'll just show you that, brand new one, right? And one of the 10mm bolts that came out. Just be careful as well, you know, when you know, I suppose if you're not experienced and you're climbing up on vehicles and leaning on things, that you're not leaning on plastic things that can break. You know, I saw a lot of that over the years, many years ago, back in dealerships, which I haven't been in for a long time. dealerships, or what do people call it, stealerships. So I'm just getting the, I've got one of the 10mm bolts started, just getting the other one started. Sometimes it's easier to just set them in a like that to give yourself a little bit more something to hold onto it with, and once it's in position, something to turn, if you know what I mean. So just getting those started, doing those up by hand. If I remember correctly, the torque specification for those is 13 Newton meters, but don't rely on me. Go and check the workshop manual. Hit Google. Google will give you an answer. Or on one of our Facebook groups, just ask there, and you know, I'll be more likely to be in a position to check it, or there's plenty of other people that can. Now I'm just going to give those a nip with a quarter drive ratchet. We often do these by hand, never had an issue. As I said, with the experience, we know how tight or not tight in some cases. Just go into alloy, so you don't want to over tighten it, rip the alloy out. And of course you don't want to leave it loose so they vibrate loose and fall out, because it is your engine. If that falls off and the belt comes loose, bye-bye engine. The pistons are going to hit the valve. That's what is going to happen. Another little important bit of information. So we've got a new idler here. You can buy the bolt separately. It doesn't come with a bolt. I'd suggest you don't need the bolt. Whatever you do, don't forget this washer that goes behind the idler bracket here. Right, so that goes on there, right, before you bolt it back on. Do not forget that. Now the bolt, you're going to see a bit of wear on it like that, some wear marks. You feel it, it's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with it. It might look bad, but there's nothing wrong with it. It goes in there clean and dry. Make sure it's clean and dry, and it should move clean and smooth like that. You don't want to put grease and stuff on it. The dust is going to get stuck to it. It's going to make things a bit tight. It probably wouldn't cause a problem, but my recommendation is leave it dry the way it was. Like I said, don't forget that washer behind there. So we're going to, actually I'll grab a 10mm hex again, hopefully. See if that works. To, again, like I said, just gives you a little bit more something to grab onto for doing it up. So we're just going to sit that above the tensioner and do that up. And we're going to give that a nip as well. So we're going to check these afterwards. Once the belt's on, we're going to check all the nuts and bolts with a torque wrench anyway. Now, if you ever got to turn this camshaft or try and undo that cam bolt, I've said it before in other videos, do it with the timing belt on. It's very easy to turn these cams, and it's not far before the valves hit the pistons or vice versa, right? So I'm just going to get on this and give it a little nip. It's one of those things, it's kind of like our triple check thing we do. Give it a little nip now. Even if that got forgotten, it's not coming undone, but we're going to check it. It might take a couple more Newton meters to get it to specification, right? So you've got your new idler and your new tensioner there. I'm not sure if you can see that in the video. Yeah, you can see enough there. So we won't adjust that because we want to show you the timing marks as well. So cam seal wasn't leaking. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're both on and secured. We'll double check the timing marks. So let's grab our mirror. So the timing marks at the front here. Yep, that hasn't moved. Go and use our mirror. We'll use a mirror like this on a 45-degree angle to see our marks down there, which will be easy to see now that it's clean. If we can get our mirror in the right position. Yep, there it is. I should probably show you this actually, because we did it in another video. On the 150, there's that much stuff in the way you can barely see it. So look, I'm going to try this. I don't know how well it's going to work again, but I'll show you what we're trying to do anyway. So if you just get down there, look, I need a third hand really. I need a helper. I need a cameraman. Oh look, too hard. But basically, that's the way you want to just check and make sure your time marker's in the correct position. And in this case, it is. So we'll get on with the job, because the idea was we were trying to keep it short. So sorry about that. That bot back up there. Let's get this timing belt. Have the Toyota riding facing towards us, like that, and find the side that's got the two marks on it. So if you hold it like that, one at the left, one at the right, right, boom, boom. The one on our left is going to go on the top mark. The top one's obviously the easy one to see, but the bottom one needs to go on first. Now if you hook the bottom one on, it's harder to see the mark and line it up right. So what I do, I bring the top mark, bang, that's in position. Then I pull this right hand side of the belt tight, sort of how it was when we took it off, right? stretch it tight like that, and just put my index finger on the belt. See, it's tight like that, and then I'm able to slip this top one back off again without any fuss. Get that bottom one on, piece of cake, right? Just going to run a hand around that, make sure that's on, and then keep the tension on it a little bit without turning it though, and bring this belt back up and slip gently. Don't force it because the edge of the pulley can be sharp, whatever, you don't want to damage the belt. And we're just going to slip that belt on nicely, and then sit that bottom part of the belt over the tensioner, right? It's all sitting in position. I haven't even looked at the bottom mark yet because I did it by feel. Remember, I used that mark. I've kept this side of the belt tight. See, there's no give there. This side's got all the flop in it. Now we're going to get our mirror again. Again, you can't see what I'm doing. I haven't got a third hand, but I'm going to check that mark down there, make sure the belt and the line, everything's spot on. If you didn't have the line lined up, it didn't matter, as long as this side of the belt's tight. But they do it for a bit of extra safety, I suppose, and good on them. That's why you should probably use genuine parts, because all the aftermarket ones don't necessarily do that. Original quality. The mark's spot on top and bottom. Okay. So then we're going to go in there and grab the pin on the grenade and go bingo, right? Job done. I suppose the dangerous part's done, but if you want to check your work, you can look at the marks again. Grab your 22mm on the ratchet on the crankshaft again, and once you turn this, the marks, unless you go backwards, the marks are never going to come back again. But if there's a problem, the engine won't even turn that far. See where I've turned it to? It won't even go. It's going to hit straight away if there's a problem. But if you do that procedure, you won't have a problem. But do it very carefully, because you could make a mistake. People make mistakes. If you don't want to wear it, then don't do it. All right. So all we got to do now is put the timing cover back on. 6 bolts, don't over tighten those. Again, if you want it in more detail, we've got longer videos in the VIP group. Just grab the timing belt kit off us. You know, you can get it with the water pump, the drive belt and the bearings, because they fail and let people down as well. So we've sourced all those parts, and of course you've got the videos to show you how to do it in detail. All right guys, have a nice day. See ya. All right, you know what? We're going to continue it on and show you how simple it is to get this cover back on. We've put the torque wrench over the bolts on the tensioner and the idler to make sure they're all hunky-dory. So it's all good. Just got to put these 6 bolts back in the timing cover. There's a couple of plugs to do, and I'm going to try and give you some more information speaking to you as I put this back together, because this is the less important part. It's really got nothing to do with retaining the belt, so we can probably concentrate a bit on other things and other information without buggering this up. Don't over tighten these bolts. They are just like little kind of stud things that go into the plastic backing plate. Again, I think it's around 8 or 10 Newton meters. I've never done that. It's always, I just do it by hand. I mean, you can feel where they come to a stop, and that's it. They're not going to go anywhere. Don't over tighten, don't leave them loose. You know, there's a bit of a skill or experience, I suppose, to knowing, you know, you've either got the touch or you haven't. Some people shouldn't be touching cars, even if they have got a qualification. They shouldn't be touching cars. So it's not all about the piece of paper and what you can say you've got or you haven't. You can have a piece of paper and you can be very average at best, and always forgetting things on people's cars and damaging things, doing things the wrong way. That's easy enough to be the case. And you know, you can not have a piece of paper and be very good and be the best, you know. So what are we doing here? Trying to get this bottom bolt in. That'd be handy. Look, this is a lot easier to do this way than the 150 Prado. If you watch that other video, I can't get it started with the socket in hand, unfortunately, because the head of the bolt keeps pushing into the socket. So I just got to get it started the first little bit by hand. Once we get it started, hopefully, if we get it started, this one's been a bit difficult at the moment, so I'll swap hands. Hold my tongue the other way. Get that fan blade out of the way. It's digging into the back of my hand. That's awesome. Now it's digging into my wrist. So it is definitely much easier to do the whole. Don't get me wrong, when I say easier, it's easier and it's more comprehensive, you know, taking out the fan, changing the water pump and the coolant and everything. But it's not like this was a big half-a-day job or anything. To do a timing belt on a Hilux, for example, which has got the one-piece water pump, on one hand you could say, oh, you know, if you've got to do the timing belt, you've got to do the water pump, because otherwise when the water pump leaks, you've got to pull it all off and the backing plate and everything again, and you're going in there twice. Well, that's right. And I'd agree that it's easier to do the job, more comprehensive to do the complete job. But some people are on a budget, so if they want to go in and do this timing belt this way and spend about an hour or whatever, maybe half an hour for some really quick people, maybe 2 hours to be more realistic, whatever. Let's just say about an hour to save any arguments, right? You can do this timing belt as we have now, even without the idler, and the tension will be probably almost quick. Well, I mean, it's just not changing those. You can do it without cleaning it, that'll save time. You know, cleaning takes time. So we just got, actually we'll just start at the top, you know. Just nip it nicely, you know what I mean? That's all you need to do. Comes to a stop, bang, just a little nip, you know. We're not pulling the studs out of the back of the plastic. Piece of cake. We're quite confident with our skills, which is why we're prepared to put it in front of everyone. And if you don't like it or you think there's something wrong with it, then you know what to do. You don't have to watch or whatever either. So if you're better, you know, you can start doing your own videos and show us what you got. Let's see what you got. Well, there is people out there that want to, you know, argue and disagree, so we've just got to put it out there. There is variables, different options and whatever. But our point is, this job, it's no big deal if you were to go and do your own timing belt this way, and then your water pump leaks later, and well, then you've got to do the big job anyway, but you've only wasted a small amount of time. You're still going to reuse all the timing belt and everything we've done then. So that's all 6 bolts back in, double checked, happy days, right? And that's how we roll, sort of a double, triple check thing. Now you've got the coolant temperature sensor plug. That wire probably should sit underneath the other bunch of wires here if you can. And look, we did wash this down, so we're just going to give this plug a bit of a blowout. We already did, but we're going to make to be sure. So it's a bit noisy for a sec. Just want to make sure that plug is 100% dry. How noisy was that? Was that noisy? Sorry about that. So you got that plug there, and we also undone the one down the bottom, the sensor down there, which is going to be a little bit of a fiddle to get to. I can show you where the top of the plug is. I don't know if you can see that anyway. Doesn't matter, we're going to find that plug. We've got to put it back in, clip it in. It's a grey plug. You'll see it gets a bit in the way of the bottom bolt at this side. So you'll hear it go click. If you heard that, that clicked back into the clamp where it's meant to be. And there's a plug coming up. We're going to plug that back in it's a triangle shape sort of thing, so we just got to get it around. When we get it around the right way, it wants to sit for whatever reason, it wants to twist around that way now, but anyway, that's all right. It's on, ready for the click. All right, you want to hear the click, make sure everything's plugged in. Now that's all we unplugged, other than this power steering reservoir that sits in position there, and that's it. That engine will start, and we might as well finish off by turning the key, right? So let's do that. Hasn't been started for about a week, so it might be a bit noisy, but here we go. And then you probably got to go ahead and look up one of my other YouTube videos to work out how to reset the timing belt light. Alright guys, I hope that's been of assistance to you, and you have a lovely week. See ya.